Alright, hello and welcome to round 4 of our 9th Newcomers tournament. This is the final round before we choose our top 4 players for the final round. Right now we have MC Halo 3A, Mr. Piano, Magnus Slavicus, and Cordaris. MC Halo,
I'm still here.
yes,
Yeah.
and Magnus both have 2 wins, so a win here should secure them a slot in the finals. It is a lot on the line here. A lot of green prices. And an electronics colony.
And steel is half price, so whoever funds first probably upgrades immediately. Okay, I already see a fund from MC Halo. It's going for aluminum.
Pretty nice combo tiles. I do not like this aluminum uranium claim. Uranium starts cheap. You can get uranium at any time from basalt platforms. People tend to build basalt platforms, which means that uranium's worth very little on IO, unlike on series. So just more claims in this iron aluminum area would have served him much better. That is nitpicking. Where is everyone else dropping?
Magnus is... Yeah, that's the right move. He's going into his second basalt. He should have gone that first, because steel starts half, and you have the iron money, because that starts double, and silicon also starts double. Now those steel mills are just turned off, because iron price is too high and steel price is too low.
Right.
But everything else is fine.
Very standard opening, but yeah, do have to be careful about this particular circumstance when you have the double price iron and half price steel. Means that you do just want to play those steel mills quite a bit. Mr. Piano dropping as expansive, right next to some aluminum. Again, aluminum is a good source of money. This uranium, unfortunately, is not. These chemicals also will be problematic without adjacency, and also just not a strong market to start with.
An expansive HQ has been upgraded.
Looking at Coderos, was founding last, I think, and he was holding on his claims for a long time, but he's in 2 silicon now and 2 electronics. Okay, I guess that's fine. That's fine.
It's unconventional, but it should work. Electronics is high and rising. He has plenty of silicon. People are selling down a lot of aluminum. So getting to HQ2 should not be a problem at all, and even continuing on from HQ2 shouldn't be a problem with the electronics production already running.
I want to say it might have been better to go into glass, but I still don't think this is the better choice, because Colony is consuming a lot of electronics, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's definitely a safe choice. Magnus is the one that is opting to go into glass. Will be nice for him. Help him upgrade. He has the silicon. Oxygen is a bit expensive, but glass counts are only the 0.25 oxygen, so it's not a huge deal. And yes, like you're saying, also going into power.
Which you really need, because power is already high and around still early on. Normally it's like around 10, but it's also... The colony is consuming 0.8 power, so that's why the price is so high.
Right, definitely something to keep an eye on IO. Power price started double this game, and just in general, even without a power colony, the colony does tend to consume a lot more power because of all these garage modules replacing the habitats.
There was an EMP on the goon of Max, I believe, and he's going to use that to attack the Nomad, which is alright, because that's the only play besides you that is really in a market that is making lots of profit.
Right. Definitely makes a lot of sense to freeze out those electronics. It could have also made a bit of sense to hold on to the EMP longer, maybe get those solar panels as it turns to day, and just keep that power in your hands for long. But not a big deal, still very effective. Also very well done by Magnus to pick up all those goon squads. Protect his important production.
There are no claims, so I have to usually, especially when it's cheap.
Right. Other thing that is going on this game, Magnus doing a very good job of recognizing that Mr. Piano and
HQ has been
Mikhailo 3A both producing a lot of aluminum, been selling it down pretty consistently, which does mean that he didn't have to commit a claim to aluminum himself, and he has been buying a fair amount of it consistently while it's cheap. Very well spotted.
Not sure if we should copy Mr. Piano that much, because he is random. He's probably not going to watch the stream, but if he do wanted to say something about it, I see that he has 4 claims left. He should probably use them to get steel. He should also sell his aluminum, and it's not too late. But,
Right. Other options, carbon, looking for moving to iron collectors. Just a lot of good markets available. No need to be sitting on these claims. Magnus, on the other hand, finally going... Oh.
That is way too early.
Yeah, basically the problem with this is that Mikhailo does not really have any strong source of income right now. Like, he's making some money off of aluminum, some money off of steel, a little bit of money off of fuel, a little bit off of power, but that's all also stuff Magnus is making money on. Mikhailo does not have an edge to push to the buy on Magnus. He needs twice as many shares bought as Magnus to get this done.
Yeah.
So really, it's just going to be slowing him down a lot.
And he's getting punished by that because he's getting attacked by a black market effect,
Yep.
EMP. So now he wasn't already gaining anything, and now he's just getting hurt by it. Okay, this auction
Is
64
way too high.
It's way too high. I mean,
64 sometimes for a hacker array makes some sense, but this early in the game, like when you're at this low in HQ level, you can't take on that much debt without plunging you into a C or a D.
only the robotic could have taken it, and maybe Magnus, but even then, 64 is way too high.
Right. The other thing about the hacker array is unless you somehow have a monopoly to yourself this early on, there's not much for you to hack. Like, the hacker array is best used later in the game when you have money to buy into your shortages and really multiply your money. Early on, you don't have the money to spare, so it's just kind of sitting there, wasted.
Yep. I think Colorus is going to profit a lot by these two players, like, not attacking each other. One is defending, one is attacking with stocks.
Right, this fight definitely plays into his hands a lot. He doesn't have to worry about spending money on stock, he can just keep upgrading,
Yep.
and that's exactly what he's doing.
And what is he going for? What should he go for? That's the question. He
Carbon?
should probably have one ion collector, and then think of going into an optimization center, and if you do that, you probably want to have at least 2 camps. But that's not enough claims, so...
It looks like he's actually going to go into a water processor. Not a great market when oxygen and fuel are both still this expensive. Much better just to grab some carbon, I think, so you're more able to deal with the fuel issue. And also just because you need it eventually. You need it right now even for your electronics. Yeah, just a bit of a misstep there, kind of slowing him down where he could be taking a large lead. Although, I guess he is still in the lead by a lot.
MC Halo's determined to buy Magnus, and I have no idea why.
Right, maybe thinking that Magnus is the greatest threat this game, maybe somehow recognizing Magnus and knowing that he's the one that cannot be allowed to win this.
What?
Like, in terms of they both have 2 wins and advancing to the finals. But yeah,
I mean,
like he
then
needed
should
to...
have won this one.
I don't know. Just win the game, don't play metagames. I don't know if that's what's happening, I doubt that's what's happening, but either way, Yeah, can't be pushing for majority
Look.
buys when this early without strong sources of income
Okay.
yourself.
Guess this is fine, this is way too late, but buying into Mr. Piano, I guess it can help.
I think even that I would wait longer. I would sell out of Magnus, I would upgrade to 4, I would wait till the next debt tick to try and make that happen. Unless someone else starts pushing in
But
first,
at
then you
that
join
point,
in.
I think Quarteros has enough.
It's probably true, but I don't think...
Upgraded.
Right. Can't afford to make the push now.
I,
Mr. Piano's not that cheap yet. It still takes like a solid 60k to finish that buy.
what? 50.
Like 55, maybe. Anyway, does make it up to HQ4, but not before Quarters gets to 5. Quarters now in a bit more water in a lot of farms. These water and farms both can be very difficult markets on IO, sometimes a bit of a trap. They take so much to get running well, especially without optimizations, that committing it to them too early just prevents you from going to other markets. But on the other hand, there aren't really many other markets.
Ooh, we didn't talk about Plashidoms. Plashidoms and IO, I'm not that a fan of it. It's like, between Moss and series I find it, like, how good it is.
Right, you still want more claims on IO than you want on Mars. You have fewer to spare for this sort of thing. And IO also has the disadvantage of having fewer habitats on average, so that's all going to drag that profit down a bit. This game is okay with Too Expansive and Nomad, but at 202.
Okay, now you buy the Mr. Piano.
Yes. He
Because
is,
you know he has a Plashidom, he's always going to make that 202. That's like...
and he's so
Profit.
super cheap now. Everyone can afford to buy him out, and it will be a big stock price boost to whoever does it. If I am Mikhailo, I would definitely sell out of Magnus before making any move of that sort. Otherwise, you're just inviting people to...
He needs to buy into himself first before he does something.
Yes.
Well, he can shift click if he sells too much.
Yeah.
Do you get extra claims from that?
Yes, you do.
Yes.
So
I
that's-
think that's worth it.
Probably, yeah.
And then the other players don't have enough to...
Unfortunately, HQ5 comes instead. But HQ5 should be fine for him anyway, and he can still sell out of Magnus to get the money to do something, although he and himself, so doesn't have money for all of those things.
Okay. Let's look at Magnus. He's going for Superconductor. He already has nanotech that's and he probably wants to have... Does he have... How much ice does he have? Okay, yeah, he wants to have liquid batteries and probably followed by synthetic meat.
Yeah,
what I would
this
go
all
for.
sounds very solid. Yeah, he's finally getting out of these glass kilns that were down a little too long. Moving to optimization centers is exactly what I want to see. That is the one biggest thing that no one had been doing this game so far. And like I was mentioning earlier, with water and food on IO, optimizations are just very important.
Yep. And let's look at Kodaros. Kodaros is making steel.
It's interesting. That used to be a big cluster of electronics. A bunch of claims were returned to move into steel instead. Steel is a solid market, but why? Yeah.
It's a carbon.
And also look at oxygen. Cordaris is running negative 1.9 oxygen a second, and there's no real need for that to be happening.
This sulfur frosty phantom.
Oh, that is interesting. At some point, Cordaris had those two oxygen claims, and he returned them.
Okay. MC Halo was buying into Mr. Piano, and then was shift clicking it, and now he got 2 extra claims, which is the better
Very
thing
solid
to do.
choice by Magnus, yeah.
He probably wants to use those claims for oxygen.
Probably. Not necessarily, I guess. There isn't any oxygen particularly close, and no particularly good oxygen either. With 3 oxygen claims,
It's not enough.
liquid batteries optimizations, it gets there, but I guess,
It's
yeah,
too slow.
there's no reason not to go for more, I guess.
You can gain the profit profit you would gain now is so big if he would go for those 2 solar panels.
Instead, going for a pleasure dome, this is a mistake in a lot of ways. 1, because it's not in one of these good other markets, and 2, because you already have 7 shares into Mr. Piano, who already has this pleasure dome down. You're taking away a lot of that money and splitting it, paying the extra power to get money that you are already getting to some extent.
Our methods continue to improve.
It's not always a mistake, but in this case, it feels a lot like one.
The local union rep is
I think Magnus' best chance.
Right, the
Like,
boost from
because
buying
of-
Mr. Piano.
that, but also besides that, he has a lot of money because of the add-ons he got, and plus he's upgrading stuff. Okay, he only has 2 upgrades now, but
Right, he has 2 centers down, that's 2 centers more than anyone else has. And in some ways it's really nice for him that Mikhailo is so deeply into his stack. It prevents Quadaris from splitting that in any meaningful way. And as long as neither of them really start developing into a major threat, this kind of gives you a very clear, obvious target. What do you think about his heavy push into oxygen optimizations?
Magnus?
Yes.
That's the right decision. You could choose between carbon or oxygen, I think. I don't like that he only has 1 into chemicals, but that he only has 2 chemicals, so okay, he's making a 3rd now. I would rather see first a 2nd chemicals and then switch to oxygen and carbon, but it's alright. It's not a wrong play.
It's interesting to me. I can see the logic behind that. Part of me wants to optimize water still.
No, water is a mistake.
He is
He
in
needs-
5 water processors right now. If he optimizes water a bit, then he can get out of some of them. That gives you probably more oxygen than you get from optimizing it. That's
How
my
many
thinking.
I mean, you always need 3. It's also it's connected. You cannot do anything else with it. Well, he needs the fuel. No, I think chemicals into carbon or oxygen is better.
Well,
Does he have liquid batteries? Yeah, he does.
in either case, he probably should be moving out of some of these water processors regardless. He is doing that now into a lot of ion collectors. That spikes the carbon price all the way up to $300.
I didn't see these 2 water processors below.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was my mistake.
With just 3, it was... I don't mind. But with
Yeah,
5, that's way too many.
Does he have nanotech?
Uh,
Okay, I'm fine with this if he produces a lot of fuel now and
routines
stockpiles a little bit, and then maybe nanotech everything.
yeah, that's fair. It's definitely an option. I'm not sure. I mean, it just didn't feel necessary to push into 6 ion collectors. Like, is an expensive transition. It's not making that much money quickly. Like, these could have been electronics or glass or something. I don't know. Not a big deal.
So, yeah. It's not wrong, but it's also not right.
Mhm.
MC, the Magnus losing Quadaris has 2 station centers now, but he doesn't have any oxygen, which is just the biggest mistake ever. Like, on IO, oxygen is huge. In every game, that's like the main market.
95% of
Skyrockets.
games, people never have enough oxygen.
Price manipulations to begin shortly.
The surpluses help a little bit, but they're not gonna get things done. They're obviously not replacement for having oxygen, and what's
Nope.
Cordaris? Optimizing carbon is solid for the moment, but yeah, needs to keep those running. Magnus is moving to a space elevator.
I hate those filthy bandits.
Looking at space, I
I
think, wow, that's amazing. But if you look at world, you see a lot of prices above 300 and even electronics above 600. So that's like a no-go for me.
Right, like the big thing that stands out to me is that the cost of the elevator is almost 120k. That's insane.
The engineers have advanced
Yeah.
the production.
And the dynamites, like one dynamite runs that's 120k investments or whatever it is.
Right, it is gooned, but there are network viruses to pop the goons, and like you were saying, there are just too many other markets to work in for that to make sense.
Fuel is $2, so someone should buy into that and stop
And yes,
autoselling that.
Magnus. This is definitely always
Now-
going...
Data is complete.
Now he can nanotech his iron collectors and buy some fuel.
Yes, absolutely.
Methods continue to improve.
And now he
Looks-
doesn't have enough water.
Yep. He is making the switch now, which is good, but a little too late on all that. Also needs to be selling out of this oxygen now that's getting surplus, now that people are starting to deal with it a bit better.
600, that is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Also the carbon. Just sell
Yes.
everything, just buy him.
Yeah. Definitely
give-
well on his way to the buy there.
You're giving a lot of potential money to someone else by not selling.
Now, a lot to Cordaris and a little bit to Michaela.
Duty is successful.
And I'm not saying like you should always sell, you should first look at bases from your opponents and like see if they are producing a lot of that set resource.
Right.
Not.
Space elevator delivery.
If it's too difficult to look at all your opponent's bases, which can be true sometimes, especially with nomads involved, you can just be looking at the price trends. If it's slowly moving downwards, then that's a pretty good sign that you should be selling too.
You can see when someone is auto selling it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this game is pretty much over. Daros was just too slow, doesn't have oxygen, too slow with upgrading stuff.
Yeah. Had the right idea eventually, but didn't get there soon enough.
MC Halo was flying into Magnus early, which didn't make any sense. It was also only in steel and iron at that point.
Right, yeah. Like we were saying throughout the game, just didn't have a consistent moneymaker to get the buy done, and didn't pivot out of all the stocks soon enough. So that meant that he just had a lot of money tied up into not upgrading, into not optimizing, and that just means you fall way behind.
If you look at the black market, you can see that 7 cards from the squads, 8 EMPs. That is huge in my opinion. Like, you just EMP one area that's like one claim not producing like 3 souls or whatever. If it's grouped together, you can like count all the claims into one claim and then add all the numbers. That way, I mean.
Mm-hmm. Alright, well, Magnus...
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Magnus does get the buy done. You can see in Magnus's base a pretty common pitfall on IO. This sort of dance around these life support resources. You overcommit to fuel, you don't make the stockpile, then you mass transition out of fuel into something like water, then fuel goes crazy again, and you're not dealing with that. It's important to maintain these stockpiles on IO, otherwise you're stuck in this loop. Even with nanotech, it's just very... you waste a lot of time and resources.
Still, that was a good game.
Yep.
Train each other.
Dirty rat trying to break our stuff.
I still don't agree with these 2 elevators. Or...
Yep. And electronics is $690.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of it matters. This game should be over any minute now.
He has the money.
Another thing to note, I guess, is that Mikhailo started buying into Corderis at the end when he was about to get bought. I guess maybe that even makes sense in this case with the tiebreakers. I don't know quite how that works. Maybe if you think you're making more money than Corderis, buy into him, make the game.
I already
longer.
thought that this would happen. But
Yeah,
I'm not going to comment on this.
it's not great.
Never mind, let's not comment on